MVP favorite, according to Fox Bet Sportsbook. However, former NBA coach George Karl has one big issue with the Sixer big man. Karl said during an interview on SiriusXM that Embiid, quote, takes too many possessions off. He has lazy body language. He gets angry at things that we don't understand why. All right, Skip, you've been riding this Joel train for a while. Do you think George Karl has a point?
Shannon, I know George well, worked with him at ESPN. I love George. I love his basketball acumen and his experience and knowledge and the guts with which he speaks out about it. But I don't love his conclusion here. I want to read a couple more of his quotes that set up the bad ones, because he said, a lot of my assistant coaches were in Philadelphia when Joel, was a young player. They kept telling me that he was going to be the best guy ever to play the game. I see him moving in that direction, but he takes too many possessions off, don't like his body language, gets angry at things we don't understand. Okay, so at least he said some really nice things before he said the bad things. The bad things have been out there for years. The bad things are why Joel Embiid finished second in MVP the last 2 years to Jokic, because the knock on Joel is bad body language, takes plays off, always whining about things that you shouldn't be whining about. I don't see nearly as much of that this year. He has stayed, I'm knocking on wood for him, reasonably healthy. He hasn't had, knocking on wood, stomach aches or personal issues or whatever's going on with him that makes us all spin. And yet he keeps saying, I can't wait for the playoffs. Well, now it's time to rise and shine, because he has now seized the lead in MVP. Maybe this is the year he breaks through and wins it. But the final point I want to make about George Karl is he's reaching for the past about Joel Embiid, in part because, as you probably know, Shannon, George Karl still lives in Denver, where he coached for a long time. And he's a big Jokic backer, believer, supporter. So he readily admits, I'm a Jokic guy like you are. So he is supporting Jokic maybe to a fault, because he's reaching for the book on Joel Embiid that's not the book anymore on bad body language. Go ahead.
Skip, I agree with you. I agree with you 1,000%. I'm not talking about Joel Embiid for 3, 4, 5 years ago. I'm talking about Joel Embiid this year. And I don't know what body language he's been watching, but have you watched the last 3 weeks? The guy's leading the league in scoring. He's shooting 55% from the floor, and he's got his team all the way up to second in the Eastern Conference. He's been the most dominant big over the last 3 weeks. Yeah, I like Jokic, and I think Jokic, when we had this conversation about a month ago, Skip, I thought Jokic was the MVP. But when we did this subject last week, I said, no, it's Joel Embiid. I can't overlook what he's been doing. The 40 and 15, the 33 and 18, the numbers that he's putting up game in and game out. Okay, he said when Joel Embiid was a young player, Joel Embiid is no longer a young player. The things that we used to criticize him, Skip, I've criticized him. Bruh, you ain't hustling near enough. You need to get your butt in shape. Yada, yada, yada. Those are things that I haven't said because I don't see them now. So I can't hold the past against Joel Embiid when I'm looking at him right now, and the guy's getting better and better and better. So I don't agree. I don't normally listen to George Karl, what he has to say, because he's really, really negative. And Skip, this is what you know. Anytime somebody starts with something, I don't want the bad mouth, you already know what's about to come out after that, because you don't normally start. I don't want to talk about somebody. Well, you about to talk about him. Oh, I don't want to badmouth Joel Embiid. Well, you about to. Joel Embiid, Skip, if they vote right now, we still got 10, 12 games to go and anything can happen. But Joel Embiid right now is the MVP of the NBA.
Thank you. Next.
On that note, guys, we got to talk about March Madness for a second. Alabama, are they going to be able to roll to an NCAA tournament championship? That's next here on Undisputed. Anthony Davis and the Lakers got a 111-105 win over the Magic last night. AD finished with 15 points and 11 boards, making this the fourth straight game he's recorded a double-double. Since LeBron has been out, the Lakers have gone 5-4 with AD in the lineup. Shannon, what has AD shown you in LeBron's absence?
AD has shown me that he hasn't been nearly consistent as he needs to be, especially with the absence of LeBron. Skip, when you got LeBron there, LeBron is going to give you 30 points, 8 rebounds, 7 assists. You can pencil that in. That's what you're going to get. When LeBron is out, AD, you can't give me 8 points ever. You can't give me 14 points ever. You cannot let an undrafted free agent be the best player on the court. That is your job. What he said about Austin Rivers last night, about him being aggressive and him taking the game over, that's what they're supposed to say about you, AD, not an undrafted free agent. Skip, am I missing something here? Oh, I mean, what did I miss? It seems to me like, no, AD. I'm watching Austin Reeves, and AD's like, Austin Reeves say, nope, I got this. I can't trust you in this situation tonight. I'm going to break. Our undrafted guy says, I'm going to bring it home over the guy that's supposed to be carrying the franchise on his back while the other franchise player is out. Skip, all I can just go by is what I see. I mean, I hear everybody keep telling me AD got top 10, top 5 talent. But what do you see on a nightly basis? What do you see on a nightly occurrence? Does he play like a top 10 player? Does he play like a player that has top 5 ability? Not nearly consistent enough. His motor does not run as long and as hard as it should. And that's what's disappointing. And that's why the Lakers find themselves in this situation. They should not be in this situation when you still got a guy with his resume on your roster.
I'm going to agree with you times 1,000. What have I seen from AD? What has he shown me in LeBron's absence? That he is AD as in always disappointing. That he's not that guy. That he is strictly a complementary star who can play like a superstar as long as he's playing with the other superstar, LeBron James. What did we see in the bubble? We saw LeBron get a great break in his career because of the pandemic. So he got a great break in rest leading up. Would they get off like 2 months or whatever it was before they had to go to the bubble? Was it 3?
From February to July.
Months, maybe?
From February to like August.
March. Okay. Anyway, he gets a great rest. They go down and play a handful of the final regular season games leading up to the tournament. And here we went with a bubble tournament. And LeBron was on fire because he was rested, he was right, he was revitalized, and a lot of the other teams and stars didn't want to be in that bubble. And LeBron said, I'm going to keep my team together and we're going to win this thing because we'll just outlast them. But what happened right on schedule, as LeBron rose and shone as the leader of the Lakers, Anthony Davis rose and shone as the superstar player, the performer. He played even a little better than LeBron did in the bubble. And we saw them together complement each other toward winning a ring. And it was a beautiful thing to watch for Laker Nation. And we saw the epitome of that relationship work at the highest level. They carried each other. They fed off each other. Well, now Anthony got his ring, and it feels like his motor runs even lower and quieter now that he got a ring. It doesn't feel like he's obsessed or possessed at all with trying to win a second ring. And Shannon, what do I love the most about watching sports? It's that the intangibles often outweigh the tangibles. You can have all the talent in the world, but you got to want it. You got to fight for it. You got to live for it. And those things don't apply right now to Anthony Davis. He's not showing you that he has fire in his eyes because he's got to cover for LeBron until LeBron comes back. They had the most favorable home schedule. They're still in the middle of, they had 10 out of 12 at home. And it wasn't that tough, especially, with KD out and some of the other stars out. Luka was out. Kyrie played the other night. But you kept getting favorable. You should be winning every game at home, and they keep blowing games at home in which AD comes up small. And it's just who he is. He doesn't have that fire in his belly. He doesn't have a motor that always runs hot. He doesn't have the intangibles that would make him a superstar. And the truth is, in the end, he's just a star. He's really good, but you can't